All right, YouTube. I'm going to try real hard, and I'm not even sure what your rules are on this, but I'm going to try real hard to explain something that quite possibly could violate your rules on YouTube. I don't know. But with that being said, Susan Washkinky, this is a gift, okay? I'm giving you a gift. This is something you want to put down in your hip pocket. So if it does violate your rules of YouTube, do me a favor and just delete the video and don't give me a strike, okay? Because I'm not sure. And I'm going to try to put it in a way that I'm going to use some different lingo here maybe, and we'll figure out how to do this. We'll see if the Great Spirit knows the rules better than I do of YouTube. But there's this new, CNN came out. They did a 180, and they're saying that the Kentucky Fried Chicken outbreak did come from the Wuhan lab all of a sudden, right? That's what CNN just flipped the script, okay? Now, I've mentioned this, and this is, you can look at the CDC numbers, okay? You can look at the numbers of Kentucky Fried Chicken versus the crispy recipe versus the regular recipe. So you got the new Kentucky Fried Chicken crispy recipe, and you got the old recipe, and the numbers are lower on the crispy recipe, right? So here's the question of the month, or the statement / question of the century. Knowing China as well as I do, okay, all right, if the Kentucky Fried Chicken was leaked out of a lab by accident, right, and you know that this new Kentucky Fried Chicken really wasn't that big of a deal even compared to the regular recipe that they had been using for years, right, to sell vodka shots. Okay. So they'd been using the regular recipe for years to sell vodka shots, and now all of a sudden they got the crispy version to sell even more vodka shots. Okay. So, but here's the question that needs to be answered. Do you really think that if it was an accident, that the communist Chinese would have exposed that had been released? Seeing how you can't really even tell that there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken outbreak when you leave your house, other than the handkerchiefs that everybody has now, which was the just a mental, hey, let's see if we can get all these dumb niggers to wear handkerchiefs, right? That's really what was behind that. They wanted to see how many dumb niggers there are. Again, that's not a racist remark. I have disclaimer on that every time. That just means slave, okay? So, my big black army over there at the Texas Rangers understands that whenever I call people dumb niggers these days, it has nothing to do with the color of your skin, okay? So that would be like everybody at the Pentagon who got totally conned over and over and over again, because really, at the end of the day, y'all are some dumb niggers. There's no doubt about that, okay? So, what I'm getting at is, if that was an accidental release of Kentucky Fried Chicken that really doesn't harm too much, okay? It doesn't. You don't just see, people eat the Kentucky Fried Chicken and then just fall over dead in the streets like you do other outbreaks in the, real plagues and stuff, right? You don't see that everywhere. They said the hospitals were full, but when people ran around and took video of the hospitals, they were empty. All right, and there's plenty of evidence of that on YouTube and other platforms. The hospitals were empty when they were saying it was full, and the only people that would show full hospitals or lines at the hospitals were the staged events that were set up, and then the other people come back through there right after the media event, right after the cameraman left from the media, and everybody else left, and they'd go in there with their phones, and the hospital was empty. So here's what I'm getting at, Susan Washkinky, and this is why you want to keep this in your hip pocket, because it's just undeniable. If that was an accidental release in China, do you really think that they would have reported it to the world, knowing all of that? Fuck no. They're not going to report it to the world. They would have covered it up and kept it quiet. We didn't release it, but there's nothing to see here. It would have never even made the news. China would have just quailed it right there. Oh, don't let this get out that we accidentally let out a little, something that's not even worse than the regular Kentucky Fried Chicken. We'll just keep that quailed and quiet. Of course that's what they're going to do. They're going to cover it up if it was an accident. Duh. I mean, any freaking government's going to do that. You think they want to take the blame for something when they accidentally let it out, and knowing that it could probably just go, and then by the time it did get to other countries, everybody would have been like, where did this come from? Where did this new cold come from? Right? Yeah, it would have just made its way around the world, and it would have been, way later down the road, it would have popped up in Ireland or something, and they would have been like, oh, it's the Irish virus, right? That's exactly what China would have done, okay? Exactly what they would have done if it was an accident, okay? So what that tells me is, seeing how about 2 months before that ever even came out, Gil Bates had a tabletop exercise explaining exactly what was about to happen. Yeah. Huh. Isn't that odd? I find that odd. Don't you, Susan? Yeah, see how your YouTube channel here could be used to, or your YouTube platform could be used to conquer the fucking world at this point, especially since you have all of those targeted individuals in a folder that I told you to hold on to, which gives you more power than the Pentagon right now, literally. I mean, you can own the Pentagon, okay? Easily, all right? If you play your cards right. But, yeah, that's what I wanted to get at, is all of that stuff about how the Wuhan lab and all of that, and how it was released from there and everything. And not only that, okay, China locked down for like a month. I'm telling you, this was a military exercise in China, is what it was. It was a military exercise in China. They locked their country down, right? They wanted to see how fast they could get everybody locked down in the event of an actual outbreak, okay? And about a month later, when they're open back up for business, they were just back to normal like nothing ever happened. Well, for some reason, the rest of the world was still locked down and using this big narrative to make everybody wear handkerchiefs and stay at home so that the economy could be ruined in different locations around the world. As you cut the supply lines off in the first world, you devastated the third world, and the amount of deaths were going through the roof in the third world due to hunger. Had nothing to do with Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? So that is a real simple way to look at it here, is to ask yourself, if China accidentally released something like that wasn't really going to affect anything unless you blew it up in the media with a big media narrative, right? This big overblown media narrative. Do you really think that China would have reported that to anybody, knowing now what you know, that it really didn't affect anybody in the first place? No. No, they wouldn't have reported it at all. They would have kept it covered up, just like any other government with sense would do. Because it didn't cause a pandemic in China. It was a military exercise, and the whole world took the bait. And you all fell right into the trap, and China bent all of you over and raped you because you're dumb niggers. Period. What about the Kapuna? So there's one more thing that the cherry on the top that their Tulsi Gabbard, who is from Hawaii, which is an island, right? Australia's an island. New Zealand's an island. I just watched that movie, A Quiet Place, and they had to seek refuge on an island to rescue themselves or save themselves from the aliens, right? So what I'm getting at here is this big Kentucky Fried Chicken outbreak somehow managed to infiltrate Hawaii, Australia, and New Zealand. Yet China reported it, supposedly, immediately after it was accidentally released from a lab. And I know China, if that was the case, and they know that this Kentucky Fried Chicken thingy isn't that big of a deal, they wouldn't have immediately reported it if it was an accident. They would have covered it up, right? But they immediately reported it. Because they ran a big con job designed to prove that a whole bunch of Nazis would take advantage of a situation. Don't ever let a crisis go to waste. Who was that, Obama or somebody like that? Don't let a crisis go to waste. Well, seeing how they immediately reported the Kentucky Fried Chicken outbreak, but I know that they wouldn't have reported it because they knew what it was. But however, they did immediately. And they also opened their country back up about 3 weeks later or a month later, something like that. Okay, I don't know the exact timeline there, but it was pretty quick. But yet, Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, all of these islands, the Caribbean, all those islands were subjected to Kentucky Fried Chicken when all they had to do was make sure nobody came into their country. Well, if you still are buying all of this bullshit after you know that, well, you're a super dumb nigger. You remember in that video where I was talking about that song, "We all live in a yellow submarine, a yellow submarine, a yellow submarine," by the Beatles? A Beatle, like Beetle Bailey, right? Remember I'm sending all of this to the Pentagon and to the DIA. Well, actually, who I'm really sending it to that matters is United States Army Special Operations Command, who is a separate entity than the dumb niggers at the Pentagon. They're actually semi-intelligent over there at USOC. Well, that's because I'm their Oracle, Lockheed's Oracle and Exxon's Oracle. So I had to have some muscle, Lockheed and Exxon did, so I took USOC and I used them to make the Pentagon our bitch. But also said, after I described we all live in a yellow submarine, I said that looks like I'm going to have to bail out China to save America. Right. And truly you do. I mean, because all of our everything, have you been to Walmart lately and turned the product upside down? It says China on it. So yeah, you got to bail out China in order to save America. That's because the people who were running the show here in America were all bought and paid for technocratic authoritarian dictators who allowed themselves to fall into a globalist trap, which undermined America. That's the United States leadership that did that. Okay, that was by design so that we could be held hostage, even though we have the biggest military in the world. China and all these other countries that we get all of our products from could just cut our supply lines, right? Of course, that's bad for China too. It's kind of like shooting. They'd be shooting themselves in the foot while they shot us in the head, right? So that's why I was trying to ally with China down here in Texas and get them 2 pipelines out of the Permian Basin with Darren over there at Exxon working something out that works for him, where he could, operate the equipment and everything for China, and they get a good wage, and Texas secedes and gets to put all of that. We're going to tax it, China. I mean, it's not going to be free, but we'll put all of that tax revenue into our purse, right? And that way, later on down the road, when these assholes try to mess with America again, which would be Texas controlling America, we can lean on China because they're allied with us. It has nothing to do with China conquering us or turning us into communist or anything like that. What is the best enemy money can buy? Communism, right? What is the best enemy money can buy? Communism. That's a fact. It's true if you know how to work it. China doesn't want to make Texas communist. You think they actually give a shit about that? When you're saying, hey, why don't we get you 2 pipelines off the Permian here, and if it works out for both of us, we're both happy, right? Yeah. China, why wouldn't China take that deal, right? See, that's what's happening here. Texas is strong-arming Washington, and they're using China to do it, right? That was the whole major long play. But you still have to bail out China to save America. And I don't think China wants to shoot themselves in both their feet just to shoot America in the head, because, I mean, we're their biggest customer, right? So, it depends on how bought and paid for and sold out to these globalist Nazis China is, right? I don't know how bought and paid for and sold out to the globalist Nazis China is. I don't think that they are too bought and paid for and sold out to them, to be honest, seeing how they just conned all of them unbelievably. I mean, China just made all of you their bitch brilliantly somehow. I don't know where they came up with a strategy like that. But that worked to perfection. So yeah, I'm going to bail you out now, China, and we'll have to get with Exxon there on those 2 pipelines. I'm sure he can work something out that works for everybody, knowing that later on down the road, when they try to do the same thing to Texas, Darren can go, he probably speaks Chinese by now. He's been brushing up on it. So we'll have these great big Chinese army to lean on in the future, as the Pentagon is also going to be financed by, the new Pentagon, the ones that aren't dumb niggers. That'll be led by USOC, United States Army Special Operations Command. Because we have more money than Davy Crockett, if you'll watch Forrest Gump, which is myself. And that's what he meant by that. We got more money than D.C. down here in Texas. We're the 4th largest economy in the world, something like that. We're about to be one of the biggest economies in the world as soon as we start distributing all this oil to the world after everything else. Watch my Rockefeller video that explained all that to perfection. Plus, we got Elon here, and I've set up the hedge for Exxon to finance Elon's helium-3 escapades, so that Exxon's hedged down the road when they start bringing helium-3 back. See how that works to perfection? That's why you need a 4-rest gangster umpire, right? I'm an umpire to all of the different entities that are at war right now, and I have to try to move all the little pieces around just right to where everything lines up without a big nuclear holocaust. Okay? So that's what was taking place this entire time. So, yeah. Just keep all that right there on the forefront of y'all's lobes.